All right, let's talk about one of life's biggest and, let's be honest, most interesting questions. Why sex? For a huge chunk of life's history, organisms were totally fine just making simple copies of themselves. So why did nature invent this much more complicated method that involves two individuals? Well, the answer is a pretty amazing story about risk, evolution, and what it takes to survive. Let's get into it.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at why making perfect copies, or clones, is actually a really bad idea in the long run. Then we'll see nature's brilliant solution to that problem. We'll check out how this all works in the wild with some real-world examples, flowering plants, and, well, us. And finally, we'll tie it all together to understand why this matters so much for the future of life on Earth.
Okay, so let's dive right into this puzzle. Some organisms just make perfect clones of themselves. It's fast, it's efficient, it gets the job done. So you have to ask, why did evolution even bother with the much messier, more complicated, and honestly time-consuming process of sex? What's the deal?
I mean, just think about it for a second. If you could just make a copy of yourself, no need to find a partner, no competition, just pure, simple replication. On paper, that sounds like the winning strategy, right? So what's the hidden catch? What's the big downside to being a perfect copy? That's the mystery we're about to crack.
And this slide really lays it all out. Asexual reproduction? Yeah, that's basically just hitting copy-paste. The offspring is identical. But sexual reproduction, oh, that's a total remix. You're taking DNA from two different sources and creating something completely new, completely unique. And, as we're about to see, that uniqueness is nature's ultimate superpower.
And that brings us right to nature's big solution. See, the world isn't some nice, predictable place. The environment is always changing, new diseases are always popping up, and predators are always getting smarter. In a world that's constantly in flux, being a perfect copy of your parents can actually be a fatal weakness.
The magic word here is variation. Now, even when you make a clone, the copying process isn't absolutely perfect. You get tiny little variations. But sexual reproduction takes that idea and puts it on steroids. It's like shuffling two different decks of cards together to create brand new hands. If a deadly virus comes along that can beat one specific card, a population full of clones all holding that card gets wiped out. But a diverse population, it's got tons of different hands, which hugely increases the odds that some individuals will have the right cards to survive.
Okay, so combining DNA is great for creating diversity. Problem solved, right? Well, not so fast. Because this brilliant solution introduces a brand new and pretty massive problem. If you just take a full set of DNA from mom and a full set from dad and mash them together, you've got a serious math issue on your hands for the next generation.
And yeah, you can see the dilemma right here. If the second generation has double the DNA, their kids would have 4 times the original amount. And on and on. The cells just can't handle that much information. The whole system would just collapse. So clearly, nature needed a much more elegant approach.
And here it is, nature's absolutely brilliant solution, meiosis. Think of it like a special process that happens in the reproductive organs. Its only job is to create these specialized cells, we call them germ cells, like sperm and eggs, with exactly half the normal amount of DNA. So, when one of those half cells from one parent gets together with a half cell from the other, presto, the offspring gets one perfect, complete set of DNA, not a doubled-up mess. The math works out. It's beautiful.
Okay, so we've got the theory down, but what does this actually look like out in the real world? Let's start with our first case study, the flowering plant. And trust me, those pretty flowers you see aren't just there to look nice. They are incredibly sophisticated reproductive machines, giving us a masterclass in genetic mixing.
Now, this diagram might look a bit complex, but what you're seeing is just brilliant engineering. Notice how it often has both the male parts, the stamens, and a female part, the pistil, all in the very same flower. It's like an all-in-one reproductive system designed for one single purpose, creating the next generation.
So let's break down the key players. You've got the stamen, that's the male part, and it produces that yellowish dust we call pollen. Think of each tiny pollen grain as a little package carrying the male genetic code. Then you've got the pistil, which is the female part, holding the ovary right at its base. And the petals, they're basically flashy billboards designed to attract pollinators like bees to come act as a delivery service.
So, how does fertilization actually happen? Well, a pollen grain lands on the pistil. Then, something amazing happens. It literally grows a tiny tube that tunnels all the way down into the ovary. This tube is a delivery chute for the male germ cell. It lets it travel down and fuse with the female germ cell inside. And that moment of fusion?
That's fertilization. That's the beginning of a brand new, genetically unique seed.
All right, now let's shift gears from plants to our second case study, us. In humans, the journey to being able to reproduce is a profound process of change that unfolds over several years, a period we all know as adolescence.
We call this whole period of transformation puberty. You can think of it as the body's biological go-live sequence. It's when the reproductive systems finally power on and a whole cascade of changes kicks in, preparing the body for adulthood.
In boys, a surge of new hormones kicks all these changes off. This is what leads to things like a deeper voice, the growth of new hair, and the maturation of the reproductive organs, which begin producing those germ cells we talked about, the sperm.
For girls, puberty brings its own set of hormonal changes, leading to developments like breast growth. But the most significant event is the start of menstruation. That's the clear biological signal that the ovaries are now mature and have begun releasing eggs, or female germ cells, each month. So, after exploring the mechanics in plants and the maturation process in humans, let's zoom all the way back out to the big picture. Why does life go through all this complexity? What's the grand purpose here? Our source material really just says it perfectly. The whole point of sexual reproduction is to combine DNA from two different individuals. It's an engine designed specifically to create new genetic combinations, generation after generation after generation.
And this right here, this is the crucial point. Diversity is survival. A species of clones is like buying 1,000 lottery tickets with the exact same number. If that number doesn't win, you lose everything. But sexual reproduction, that's like buying 1,000 tickets with 1,000 different numbers. It dramatically increases the odds that when the environment changes, at least one of those tickets is going to be a winner. And that leaves us with a final thought. This endless genetic shuffling is what has allowed life to survive on a changing planet for billions of years. So as we face our own future challenges, from new diseases to a changing climate, it really makes you wonder, what new solutions and possibilities are being shuffled into existence right now, within us and all around us?
And that's all for this explainer on reproduction. If you found this breakdown helpful for your Class 10 studies, please do us a favor and hit that like button to show your support. Share it with your friends and classmates, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And of course, be sure to subscribe to the A1 Institute channel for more.
And one last thing. If you're a Class 10 student and you want more in-depth support, from detailed notes to expert guidance, our team at A1 Institute is here to help. You can find our contact number waiting for you in the description below. Thanks for watching.